Well, good evening, everyone. I humbly acknowledge that the land on which we live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, and unceded territory of the Métis. For the record, we have Councillor Vardy participating via Teams. Councillors, please have your video turned on. If anyone is in attendance wishes to address council on any of the agenda items, please register now with Legislative Services desk located to my right, as I will only be calling upon those who have registered to speak. Following your submission, please remain available for questions for council. You must register prior to the start of the agenda item to which you are speaking. Registered delegations are permitted up to 5 minutes to speak and must remain on topic. Can I have someone make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Oh, here we go. Councillor Allen?
Thank you. Through the chair, I would move that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. And it was seconded by Councillor Van Castian. I'll call for a vote. Thank you, and that was passed unanimously. Moving on to the consent agenda, does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have someone make the motion? Councillor Scott?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. And seconded by Councillor Brandt. I'll call for a vote. Councillor Scott. And that was passed unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a report on Highway 686 alignment support. I'd like to call the Office of the Chief of Staff to introduce the report. Please introduce yourself and go ahead when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Weigel. Good evening, members of council. For the record, my name is Matthew Harrison, and I'm the Chief of Staff. I'm here before you to request a letter of support for the proposed route alignment for Highway 686. In 2023, the Government of Alberta entered into an agreement with United Northern Developments Limited Partnership to support the planning of Highway 686. In September 2025, the RMWB shared with the partnership's engagement consultant that we prefer the southern route alignment of Highway 686 as pictured on the map, in the map on your screen. That's the fuchsia line there, the 2011 Stantec South alignment. Since at least 2012, the widely held understanding was that Highway 686 would connect to Highway 63 via the Parsons Creek interchange. The interchange was completed in 2016, and various planning documents have been approved to reflect its use. In December 2025, the engagement consultant met with administration to provide an update on their progress. The consultant informed us that after reviewing the possible options, the south alignment is the preferred route to be brought forward to the province. Administration has been advised that a letter from council supporting the preferred southern alignment would be welcome and would be included in the recommendation to the Government of Alberta. And so I would ask that you approve our request to provide a letter of support for the Highway 686 southern route alignment. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Scott?
Hi, just a few quick ones. Does this impact, I know that the province is discussing, or certainly the MLAs are discussing a bridge across the river. Will this impact that in any way, as far as you're aware?
Through the chair to Councillor Scott, no, this would be something separate. This is focused on the project that the GOA originally announced in 2023.
And as far as we know, the GOA is in support of the step that we would be taking, or would we be running counter to that proposal?
Of this proposed southern route? So through the chair to Councillor Scott, the GOA empowered this partnership to work and engage with the different parties to find out the preferred route. And so we learned from the partnership's engagement consultant that they do prefer the southern route and that they would be recommending that to the GOA. So whatever the GOA is more comfortable with what their engagement finds. So we are aligning with the partnership, which is a good news story for all partners involved.
And that's essentially administration's recommendation as well.
That is correct, yes. That would be our preferred route through the chair to Councillor Scott, as it does work with the existing infrastructure that we have, namely the Parsons interchange.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Scott. Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Weigel. Thanks for the presentation there, Matthew. I guess my question would be, what will be the definitions in the support letter? Because are you going to bring it back to us for a draft? Or are you going to send it? How is that going to look?
So through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, so in cases like this, the mayor would send a letter to this engagement consultant saying council's support for this project for the southern alignment, and we would include within that letter the minutes from this meeting to show that it's official and on the record that we are supportive of this southern route as identified in the map, the 2011 Stantec southern route. So I would say it's a standard paperwork exercise, but it's something that's very important to just vouch for our support for this route to align with the other partners.
I guess in alignment with fiscal responsibility, I guess discussions about us not having to pay for it at all, it just be solely on the Alberta government.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, yes, this is a project that the government of Alberta has identified as a priority to have a route connecting the east to west of the northern part of the province. They see it as an important economic corridor as well. It's a great opportunity for us to have another egress route. So this is a provincial project, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Do we have any delegates for this item?
We have no registered delegates.
Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I'm just curious because, I mean, the original alignment is going back 22 years now. And I remember being excited when they first announced it in their budget in 2023. Do we see any money or any plans for shovels in the ground by 2027, perhaps? Or has the government given any expectations on that? Because it's something we've been waiting for a very long time. And Highway 6, well, the Parsons Creek interchange was originally designed to accommodate this, and it was always the beginning of 686. We changed the we changed the interchange design specifically to accommodate this. So, just wondering if the government is giving any hint to a plan as to when they may even start.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Allen, that's an excellent question, and that's one that that we've asked as part of the engagements, and no one has quite been able to pinpoint a time for us, though they have referred to it as it's more of a longer-term project. There's still some engagement to go on. There will be some environmental studies that will have to happen. There'll be design, and then, of course, construction. So there's still ways to go, but I think the positive thing is that, first, the government of Alberta has committed to it publicly, and also, I think, establishing this agreement on a route with key partners is a great step forward. So no timeline yet. In our conversations with the Ministry of Transportation and Economic Corridors back in December, they were hinting at there could be some more public statements made in this first part of the year. So whether or not that's money in the budget or information about the route alignment more publicly. That's to be seen, but there is no timeline at this point yet, unfortunately, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I certainly support anything that is has the fewest water crossings, because from past experience, I know of the issues we had getting permits in place with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans federally, and that was a huge delay. So hopefully we can see shovels in the ground sometime during my lifetime. I guess that's more of just a comment, but thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Allen. Any other questions of council? Seeing done, just to repeat, there's no delegates for this item. No delegates then. Can I have someone make the motion, please? Councillor Scott?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. And seconded. Thank you, Councillor Lance Boussiers. Can I call for a vote? And that was passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
Next, we have a report on council rules and relations council policy. I'd like to invite the Office of the Chief of Staff to introduce the report. I don't think you need to reintroduce yourself. You're already there.
Well, Deputy Mayor, I'll reintroduce myself for the record. How about that?
Sure.
Good evening once again, Council. Again, for the record, my name is Matthew Harrison. I'm the Chief of Staff. I'm joined by the Manager of Council Relations, Nadia Macron, whose team is a key liaison for Council, supporting the Interim Chief Administrative Officer in his support of your work and priorities. We're here to speak to the Council Roles and Relations Council Policy, GOV 030. As noted in the Council report, the proposed policy and procedure before you provides clear definitions and distinctions between the respective roles of Council and administration. Combined, these two governance documents distinguish Council's governance responsibilities from administration's operational duties. This separation ensures that strategic decision-making remains focused at the Council level while enabling administration to manage day-to-day operations efficiently and effectively. These governance documents include key foundational governance elements like administration having the responsibility for public service delivery, administration's commitment to sharing information with members of Council, and the flow of direction from Council to administration through the CAO. The policy and its accompanying procedure promote a culture of respectful, transparent, clear, consistent, collaborative communication between both bodies. And to ensure legislative compliance, all components of this policy and procedure align with the Municipal Government Act and the Chief Administrative Officer bylaw. That concludes my presentation. Myself and Nadia would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions of council? Awesome. Seeing none, thank you so much. Can I have somebody make the motion? Councillor Allen?
Thank you. Through the chair, I would move that the Council Rules and Relations Council Policy, Gov-030, as outlined in Attachment 1, and the Council Rules and Relations Council Policy Procedure, Gov-030, as outlined in Attachment 2, be approved.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the second. Councillor Brandt? Any debate points, discussion for council? Councillor Vardy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have a concern. I'm just getting my page here, specifically with the procedures on attachment 3. So understanding that we are not able to direct staff and supervise staff and provide direction outside of policy. we have a lot of members of our council who are experts in their field, and I feel that this procedure leaves very little room for collaboration. We're the advocates of the community, and we bring a lot of knowledge and resources that we're hearing from either lived experience or from members of the from residents. And this is so prescriptive that I don't see a place of where we can support and inform without directing. And I don't know if there's an answer to my question, or maybe administration can kind of help me in that gray area. Again, understanding that we are not able, and we must not give direction to staff. But when we're talking about collaboration, I don't see that piece. I don't see that piece there. So that's my first. And I do have a second one.
Through the chair to Councillor Vardy, I'll start, and then maybe Nadia will step in. But I would suggest that it's certainly not intended to limit council's insight or certainly bringing forward the questions or concerns or priorities of residents. The distinction is that the conversations or the information or the feedback should be brought in to the CAO so that he can take this information, he can take the work, and then working with his team, he can distribute it out to the necessary parties. So certainly not intended to limit any kind of input from council. That's certainly your role to share your thoughts and feedback from residents with the CAO, and then he can further direct it. Nadia, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that.
I would, yes. Thank you, Matthew, if I could. Through the chair to Councillor Vardy. I just wanted to add as well that what you're seeing in front of you is Council's policy and Council's administrative procedure. And recognizing that, we certainly don't want to at all restrict councillors providing input, especially when this is coming from the community. So while Matthew did talk about any feedback coming in through the CAO, certainly we recognize that sometimes councillors are talking to senior leaders in the organization. So what you would see complementary to this council policy coming forward will be administration's own procedures. And that is where you would see things like senior leaders ensuring that they are providing awareness to the office of the CAO about any conversations, information that's been shared, or feedback that has come in from members of council. So it is not just that you only talk to the CAO. I just wanted to make sure that that distinction is not there and is not that restrictive. Does that help you at all, Councillor Vardy?
Yes, it does. Because I was reading it as exactly that, very, very prescriptive. And I do have a second point. Apologies. It was specifically regarding, I'm so sorry. Resident inquiries to members of council, section 12. So there is a recommendation that should residents put in a request or inquiry to council, it'd be recommended that we request them to send a note to Pulse and put an official complaint forward. I do agree with this. This is good practice. However, not every inquiry is going to be an appropriate response to Pulse. So my question is, within this procedure, if I choose to not recommend someone put a Pulse request forward, instead I forward it or handle it myself, how are we going to be held accountable? Is that going to be an issue that I didn't request them put a Pulse ticket forward? Is this just a guideline? Is what I'm hearing? This is more, these are best practices. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the intent. And is this prescriptive again, or is this more a guideline of best practices?
Through the chair to Councillor Vardy, it would be fine if you took the inquiry yourself and forwarded it along to administration. It is certainly a preferred route for a number of reasons to go through Pulse, so we can track things, ensure things have been followed up on, and so on and so forth. But we do recognize, as you did state, that not all things may be appropriate. Some things may be more sensitive and require a bit more hands-on or direct dealing with through, say, the CAO's office. So that would certainly be fine if you were to submit something through the CAO's office rather than Pulse. But of course, we do recommend the usage of Pulse. Now, Nadia, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that as well, but.
I usually do, Matthew. So through the chair to Councillor Vardy, I would add as well, because I remember this being a conversation amongst administration when we were looking at, especially this point. We recognise too that councillors, because of how close you work with members of administration, you might be able to find that information that we might think is readily available, whether it's on the website or information that has already been shared publicly in council meetings. So while this does specifically say, when residents request information that is not readily available to the public, for you to direct that through Pulse, we also recognise that you might know exactly where to find that answer. And we certainly wouldn't restrict you from directing any member or any residents that might be looking for information. If you already know where to find it online or referring to a council meeting, by all means, do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thanks, Councillor Vardy. Councillor Luana Busse.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through the chair to administration. Further to Councillor Vardy's comments, I would like to see number 12 amended. There's times where, like she said, it won't go to Pulse, and I don't want this to be so prescriptive that it doesn't allow for me to speak directly. We've been encouraged to speak directly with department heads, and this policy as written certainly doesn't reflect that. And that's been a very strong message from the CAO, like pick up the phone and call whatever department head, and this doesn't read that way to me. So that one, and just the whole intent of essentially telling us we don't go directly to administration. That's contrary to what we've been verbally told.
Through the chair to Councillor Luana Busse. Sorry, that's number 6 or number 12?
Well, 12, but also number 6 as well. Request to meet with administration to be submitted to the CAO. That's contradictory to what we've verbally been told and encouraged to do.
Through the chair to the councillor, if you'd like to change it, we can certainly be amended.
Well, I guess I'd like some clarity what you really want. Pardon me?
Councillor Carter.
We could actually take it back, right?
Through the chair to the councillors. You could, yes. The intent certainly behind that number 6 is, again, it's more of ensuring that if there's information that's being shared from administration, that all of council is receiving the same information. So if we're able to coordinate it through a central body, the CAO's office, or council relations, then we're able to also follow up and ensure that if there's been a discussion on a particular topic, that information can be shared with everyone. So it's not intended to be restrictive. It's more intended so that we're able to track and to share that information. In terms of a change in language, if Nadia is suggesting perhaps shall be coordinated through the CAO, any kind of meeting request, the office of the CAO, would that be more preferable in terms of language?
That what you just said is contradictory to what ICAO Butts has told us and shared with us. So Jody has said, oh, pick up the phone and call Elliot. You don't have to go through me. That's not how this reads. It reads opposite, that if I want to talk to Lori or anybody, I got to say to Jody, hey, I want to talk to Lori. But Jody has said to us, you don't need to go through me. Just pick up the phone and call her. And I get the piece about if it's an inquiry, we put it to Nadia so she can track it. I understand all that. But what you have in number 6 is directly contradictory to what ICO Butts has told us in meetings. So I don't know what you want. I don't know what's the real wish, Jody?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lawanner and to all of council, we'll be happy to take this back and re-look at it and
Yeah.
consider those comments, for sure. We certainly want to be on the same page on this, so it's good.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
we
it's
will be
important.
happy to take it back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luana Bussier, Councillor Lance Bussier.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy. I guess just continuing on Luana's comments, I think the issue was there have been CAOs in the past that have instructed people not to talk to council, especially Lance. So I've had directors tell me that a certain CAO or CAOs have instructed them not to speak to me. So, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I think that's why it might be in there. Although ICAO Butts has been very clear that we can communicate directly with Director Farquharson or Smith. So I don't know how you fix this, because the next CEO may come in and change it back.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Lance Bussier, I think that's the point of the intent of this policy. And through good policy governance, those changes would be limited. It would take the decision of council to make those changes versus the CAO. And this is really just speaking towards the role and the interaction between, through the CAO, but between council and administration. So we're happy to take this back. Yeah, was not expecting to hit the mark right off the bat. We'll keep going at this and we'll work at it.
Thank you, ICAO Butts and Councillor Bussier. Councillor Allen?
Thank you, through the chair. I just actually a comment that I'm a wee bit disappointed that we actually have to come out with a policy like this and a procedure for something that is clearly written and defined in the Municipal Government Act. But I do understand that there's previous councils and where there were issues around this, so having it defined as our own policy is probably not a bad step, and I support it from that perspective. I guess from what the ICAO said, just indicated, is it your preference then that we were to refer this back to administration until a future meeting to review those points, or do we still want to debate for approval tonight?
Through the chair to Councillor Allen, yes, I would be happy to take this back, directed by council, to take this back and for a future meeting.
Okay, well, based on the couple of points that were made, I don't want to get into a huge debate on that now about amending the policy in this meeting, because really this is something we should all be doing anyhow. I know from past history I've always been told, yeah, it's no harm in speaking with department heads and getting that information directly. Just don't direct them. You know, that's not our role. Our role is to, as a group, to come up with a resolution, give that back to the CAO, and he's the one who is going to act on that resolution. So no individual councillor has the authority or the right to direct anybody, including the CAO. Certainly, I don't know if anyone has anything else to say. I don't see anyone else on the list, but I'm prepared to make a motion to refer this back to administration, to come back at a future date. I would say no later than 4 weeks from now, if that gives you enough time, and then bring it back again for council's review.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Do we have a second for that? We'll just put the motion up on the board. Councillor Scott?
Yeah, that was a second.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Any discussion, debate of council on this motion?
Thanks, Mike. Councillor Allen. I did want to say a couple things about the importance of the connection with the community and not getting a slap on the hand when you go and talk to a director when it comes to a request, just some information sharing, and also, you know, how much we could utilize each other and move things forward for the residents. And thanks for bringing the motion forward, Councillor Allen, and I'll support it. Thanks as it is.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Just something for clarification for myself, I will be supporting this motion. When it comes to, when we're talking about the numbers or the points, point 6, was that just a reiteration of the MGA stating that the CAO is, there's one employee and it's the CAO? Because it would be my understanding that the CAO would then, as we've talked about ICO Butts giving us lineage to actually to leniency to talk to the directors, it would be under their advisement how we were directed to handle or talk to staff. Is that kind of what we're trying to prescribe here?
And to the chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I think as Councillor Allen put it quite perfectly, it's the intent is that you can have those conversations, but it's not for directing staff.
Okay.
So in terms of just, again, trying to work through the CAO's office in coordination of the meetings or the inquiries and things like that, we just want to ensure that when there's these conversations happening, that all the same information is being shared with all members of council, as we are obliged under the MGA to do so. And it allows us to track the inquiries, and it also just gives the CAO's office just an additional organizational, we're able to interject with other information as well that other departments may not be aware of. So the intent is not to muzzle or stifle the conversation. The intent is to make sure that the information is being shared and that it is more collaborative.
Awesome.
So we can certainly refine the language so that's clear to address the concerns of the council.
Awesome. Thank you. And just going away, I do support also Councillor Luana's messaging on number 12. And so, thank you. Any other questions or debate points from council? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councillor Scott. Oh, got it. Thank you. And that was passed unanimously. Awesome. We now have bylaw number 26/002, Amendment to Assessment Review Board. Bylaw number 18/017, which is being presented for the first, second, and third readings tonight. I'd like to invite Legislative Services to introduce the report. Please introduce yourself and go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Jade Brown, Chief Legislative Officer, here to provide a brief overview of the proposed amendment to the Assessment Review Board bylaw, bylaw number 26002, as well as touch on item 7.4 regarding appointments to the Local Assessment Review Board. The bylaw amendment before Council this evening is presented for consideration of all three readings. If approved, the amendment would enable Council to appoint Assessment Review Board members for a specified term or a specific purpose. As a note, Assessment Review Boards in Alberta are independent, quasi-judicial bodies established under the Municipal Government Act to hear and decide property assessment complaints. On August 15th, the Local Assessment Review Board conducted 3 hearings. After these decisions were issued by the board, the complainant sought judicial review of them. The court subsequently quashed all 3 decisions and directed that the matters be reheard by the board. At the December 9th council meeting, new members were appointed to the Assessment Review Board. However, these individuals are not yet certified under provincial legislation to participate in these hearings, as the required training has not yet been delivered by the Government of Alberta. External legal counsel has reviewed the situation and recommends that the bylaw amendment before you this evening be approved. The amendment would allow council to appoint qualified members from the Edmonton Assessment Review Board to rehear these 3 files. This is a common practice amongst other jurisdictions. It's important to note that the members who participated in the original hearings are not eligible to take part in the rehearing process. Should council approve the bylaw amendment tonight, Item 7.4 proposes the formal appointment of 2 members from the Edmonton Assessment Review Board, specific to hear those files as recommended by the board's external legal counsel. Thank you.
Thank you, CLO Brown. Members of council, as this bylaw is proposed for all 3 readings tonight, it's important to note that the bylaw must receive unanimous consent for consideration on the 3rd reading in order to proceed consideration of the 3rd reading in order to proceed to the 3rd reading. We will begin with the 1st reading. Following the 1st reading and before considering the 2nd reading, we'll hear from delegates and the council will have an opportunity at that point to ask questions. Can I have someone make the motion for the 1st reading? Following the 1st reading and before consideration of the 2nd reading, we'll hear from any delegates and questions they may have from council. Also, someone make the motion for the 1st reading. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, so moved for first reading.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Thank you for the 2nd, Councillor Lance Boussier. After the 2nd reading. As this is the 1st reading, there's no opportunity for delegates or questions at this point. So I'll call for a vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion for a 2nd reading of bylaw number 26/002, please? Councillor Scott.
Yeah, I move for second reading.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Thank you for the 2nd, Councillor Luana Boussier. Do we have any delegates for this item?
There are no registered delegates for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any discussion, debate points, or comments from members of council? Councillor Cardinal.
I have more of a question, I guess, to Jade about the committee policy term review that we're doing. Is it going to align with any of that stuff for term-wise?
Through the chair to Councillor Allen, the committee's review that we've undertaken.
Councillor Cardinal.
Councillor Cardinal, sorry, my apologies. The committee's review does not cover any of the quasi-judicial tribunals. These tribunals are set up by the Municipal Government Act, so they're dictated by legislation. The terms of appointments, I think that can be reviewed. However, in this case, it's not a matter of the terms of appointment. I think the matter is specific to the timing of when the court decision came out and when the rehearings need to occur. So the court decision came out early December and the hearings are happening or to be happening the end of January, which gives us a very limited time frame to find qualified members under the provincial certification. Our provincial certifications begin in March is the earliest date. So we have this finite time period in between because the Assessment Review Board process usually kicks off annually in April.
So if there's no hearings, do the same committee members, assessment board members stay on?
They would go through the process, so they would be appointed for 2-year terms by council.
Okay. Yep, that's all, thanks.
For these specific appointments, for clarity, these members would be appointed for the specified specific terms to fill those files, to rehear those files only. So they may only be appointed for a very finite period of time rather than 2 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Allen?
Thank you. I guess more just for the record, I'm assuming that there'll be some cost implication or some budgetary, and it would just come out of emergent issues, or would it be coming out of an existing fund for boards and committees? Because obviously we would have some expenses for these individuals from Edmonton.
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Allen. We have budget to cover this. We do have some costs associated for reimbursing members to sit to hear and decide appeals. It's my understanding that most of the tribunals across Alberta use the same modeling, which is set out by the province. So it should be much in line with how we pay our local members. And with respect to the hearing itself, it is virtual.
Oh, good. Okay, well, perfect. And no issues with the previous mistake. He's also young and good looking, so I accept that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the answer.
Any other comments, questions, or debate points by council? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote for the second reading. And that was passed unanimously. Thank you. As a reminder, consideration of third and final reading of the bylaw must receive unanimous consent in order to proceed. Can I have someone make the motion for consideration of the third reading? Councillor Scott.
Yeah, I move that third reading be considered.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. And thank you for a second, Councillor Brandt. Is there any debate, discussion, or comments of council? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councillor Vardy, in favor, thank you. And that was passed unanimously. Thank you, we did. Can I have someone make the motion for the third reading, please? Councillor Allen?
Thank you. I'd move that bylaw number 26/002 be read a third and final time.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Thanks for the second, Councillor Luana Boussier. Is there any debate, discussion, or comments from council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Councillor Vardy, thank you. You're in favor? And that was passed unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a report on Local Assessment Review Board. I'd like to invite Legislative Service to introduce the report. Please introduce yourself and go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, through the chair, and if council would indulge me by staying here, it would be helpful. Thank you so much. So this is in line with the report that was just presented to council. As noted, there are 2 members from the Edmonton Assessment Review Boards who are available and willing to sit to rehear these 3 specific files. The hearings are set for the end of January so that we can conclude the matter prior to entering into the 2026 assessment season. Thank you.
Thanks, CLO Brown. Any questions of council for the presenter? Any delegates for this item?
There are no registered delegates. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Can I have someone make the motion, please? Councillor Scott?
I make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Seconded by Councillor Luana Boussier. Thank you so much. Any discussion, debate points, or comments from council? Not seeing any, I'll call for a vote. Thank you, Councillor Vardy, and that's passed unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to councillors' motions. Moving on to item 8.1, councillors' motions. I'll ask Councillor Kendrick Cardinal to read out your motion, please. Oh, just one moment, please. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through the chair, at this point, I'd like to recuse myself due to the potential of a pecuniary interest.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you ready?
2 seconds. I was just looking at Adam. Go ahead, Councilor Cardinal.
Thank you there, Deputy Mayor Weigel. Okay, transportation shuttle services in Fort Chip, Fort McKay. Whereas the community of Fort Chipewyan currently lacks transportation services for residents to travel within the community, and there are limited transportation options available for travel between Fort McKay and Fort McMurray. Therefore, be it resolved that administration be directed to explore and provide recommendations on the establishment of a community transit system in Fort Chipewyan. Be it further resolved that administration be directed to explore and provide recommendations regarding the provisions of shuttle services between Fort McKay and Fort McMurray, and that administration present its findings and recommendations to council no later than March 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Councilor Cardinal. Can we get a second? Thank you, Councilor Marcel.
I'll second that.
Councilor Cardinal, would you like to speak to your motion?
Most certainly, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate some of the important requests that came to me as a council member for my ward, and how important it is to hear the residents out and provide some servicing for transportation. I know that there hasn't been any services at all in the community of Fort Chipewyan, and maybe slightly somewhat in Fort McKay, and I think it's important that we here provide some transportation to the residents. And I did reach out to some residents, and they're here to delegate tonight, so I think that I'd like to hear from them, and hopefully we can have this motion passed. So that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Cardinal. We have a couple delegates for this item. Barb Hermanson, sorry, via MS Teams. Hello, Ms. Hermanson. Please state your name for the record, and just a reminder, you have 5 minutes to make your submission, and please just stay on the line afterwards. Remain for questions of council. Thank you.
I'm Barb Hermanson, resident of Fort Chipewyan. Yes, the big demand to have the shuttle in this community, because there's lack of people going out and doing their appointments, and even for some of the younger people. But for elders, we need this in big demand.
Thank you, Ms. Hermanson. Are there any questions for the presenter?
I do, yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor Cardinal.
You good? Thanks. Thanks, Barb, for your presentation. I guess my first question is, do we have any taxi services in Fort Chip, and how do you get around the community along with some of the elders that are also struggling and disabled?
We have no taxi services in Fort Chip at all. And I'll just use myself. I haven't been out of the house since December the 10th. I finally went out today because there's no way. If you don't have a vehicle, we're stuck at home. And I think that's very hard on mental for, people. We need to socialize. There was a meeting yesterday. I couldn't even attend, and it was a very important meeting at the hall. I couldn't go. That was drug and alcohol abuse and stuff, and I couldn't go. And as being a Métis director, leadership, I couldn't be there. So this is really big demand, and it's for people that, we can't go to the pool, the gym, we can't socialize. It's very frustrating, and we just gotta we need that shuttle services, and for the community, for the whole community, yes.
No, that's my question. I guess another thing would be, I know that there's a barrier to get to the airport and other places like the grocery store and to the hospital. So I just want to mention that as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Hermison. Thanks. Councillor Cardinal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hermison.
Any more questions?
No other questions. Next up is Shane Boucher. Reminder, Shane, to please state your name before for the record, and a reminder, you have 5 minutes to make your submission. Following your submission, please remain available for questions to council. Thanks, Shane.
Hi, I'm Shane Vincent Boucher. I'm a local here from Fort McMurray, Alberta. Good evening, council. I'm here in support of Councillor Cardinal's motion to, vital motion to pass. Okay, where am I? To establish transit in Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay. My testimony here from Fort McMurray serves as a crucial warning. Without the right design or new transit services, we will repeat dangerous failures that we are currently facing through. I have personally faced retaliation for reporting these failures, and I'm here to ensure that no other residents in our region faces the same neglect. The current transit system and on-demand module is a blueprint to what to avoid. On December 9th, in -33 Celsius with wind chill, bus refused to open the doors and leaving me stranded after a 30-minute wait. This is a direct life-threatening safety failure. The system response was not an apology or a fix. It was a trespass and warning, effectively trying to silence a citizen instead of addressing the hazard. The technology is unreliable, scheduling is meaningless, service excludes anyone without that cannot wait indefinitely outdoors in weather conditions or navigate a broken app. This model is what we must avoid when expanding to our regional neighbors. My experiences here in Fort McMurray are directly applicable to the residents in Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay. An unreliable transit system or the lack of one entirely. It does 3 things. It isolates our most vulnerable populations, seniors, peoples with disabilities, and single-parent families are those without means, turns our -30 weathers into life-altering, threatening barriers for groceries, medications, schools, and that of work. We cannot claim to support regional equality while maintaining a broken system in the center of our municipality. I urge Council to pass Councillor Cardinal's motion, but I ask that you amend it with a crucial lesson from current failures. Expand the motion's directive to include the independent safety and quality of review of existing on-demand services to ensure recommendations for Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay prioritize reliable, scheduled, and accessible services from day one, not a flawed experiment. We have a chance to make this right for all communities around, and let Fort McMurray's painful experience be a lesson and guide us to better standards. Pass the motion that not only explores new services, but flicks a flawed failed, let's see, where am I? Sorry. To pass a motion that not only explores new services, but flicks a fundamental flawed harming citizens right now. Let's build a transit that connects and protects everyone in Wood Buffalo. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
That was nerve-wracking.
Are there any questions for the presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Cardinal.
I guess I just want to, question your experience with the current system that we have. I guess I know that you're speaking,
Well, the current system that we have, like, I agree with everything that it has, and I do agree that to have it extended to outer communities, not only to Fort McKay and stuff like that, what about Anzac, Conklin, and Janvier and stuff like that as well, right? Like, there's still others, people out there that need to come into from town to work, so. It just needs adjustments to be retweaked and refixed, I think, and we can probably make that happen to the outer regions and
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Any other questions of council?
You asked for some sort of an amendment. Could we have administration follow up with that suggestion that he was talking about the transit system?
And what was the amendment you were looking for?
well, maybe not an amendment at this time, but specifically to reach out to Shane to see some of his input, because I know that it's valuable, and there's obviously some barriers with the transit system locally as well. So I'll reach out to him, and then maybe we could coordinate with the administration.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the, just one more, any other questions for the presenter? I see none. Thanks so much, Shane. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
I don't see any more delegates. Any other questions, comments, or debate points by council?
No, I got a quick question about the date. Is it, if it's specific to Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay at this point, can I ask whether or not the other communities are actually getting them, like Anzac, Janvier, and Conklin?
That question to administration?
Yeah. Great question.
Sorry.
Through the chair to Councilor Cardinal, great question, and absolutely Anzac, GLE, Janvier, and Conklin is indeed receiving rural transit, not within the community, but from, say, Janvier to Fort McMurray.
How often does that happen?
So with our rural transit Tuesdays and Thursdays, we hit Janvier, and on the way there and on the way back, obviously Anzac and GLE, and as well Wednesdays and Fridays we go as far as Conklin, and again on the way there and on the way back we hit Anzac and GLE. So we do have those routes. We transport around 1,900. We do around 1,900 rides per year. So we do have a rural transit that's in place, absolutely, as it is today.
Okay.
Now,
Thanks.
I think it's important to note that as phase 2 of the Transit Master Plan, we're going to do further engagement with rural. So when we do that engagement with rural, we'll take that feedback and we'll improve it as part of the Transit Master Plan. So that's in the works to do further engagement with our rural communities.
At this point, how many times does the transit system even go to Fort McKay? Because I'm hearing it does, and then I'm hearing it doesn't.
Through the chair, Councilor Cardinal, it absolutely does. Every Thursday, every week of the year.
Okay. And
Thursdays.
So if there's feedback, I guess I could just go to policy, because yeah, just go to policy if you have any feedback, right?
Through the chair to Council Cardinal, if there is any feedback, you definitely can go to Pulse. Pulse is the main contact for the municipality. There's also ways that you can reach out through transit. You can reach out through IRR, through Dennis, or any feedback that you have, you can let us know, and we can take that. And again, as a part of the master plan, we can readjust or take a look at what makes sense to prefer to do better service in those areas. Absolutely.
I know we had discussions before. What was your guys' considerations around transportation in and around Fort Chip and the frequency of it?
Through the chair, Council Cardinal, to my experience, we've never had transit within Fort Chipewyan itself. In 2017, we did do a pilot, which I believe was in June. We implemented a pilot bringing people from Fort Chipewyan to Fort Smith. It ran for 2 months. Very, very low ridership. I think it was only 15 people in those 3 or 4 months. And so it was decided not to continue. It's my understanding that up until recently, the taxi service provided that within the community, however, is no longer there. So we never ever did it in Fort Chipewyan itself. At one point in time, many years ago, we looked at from Fort McMurray to Fort Chipewyan. However, over the winter road, or as you can appreciate, there's a slew of risk and insurance issues as well. So that didn't really take off the ground either. So it's been looked into in the past. In 21-22, when we did the initial engagement with TMP, we did contact the rural outlets. And again, phase 2 will do more engagement and get that feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cardinal. Councilor Vardy?
Thank you. I have a question for Councillor Cardinal and then a question for administration. First, I'd like to thank Councillor Cardinal for bringing this forward. Rural transportation is a huge issue, and it's something that we have to bring forward. So first, Councillor Cardinal, why are you looking at transit first and not something like a shuttle service or us providing subsidy for another taxi company? Why jumping to transit first?
Well, just being the local in the community, I see where that it could possibly it could work there. So the shuttle service, I believe, is more feasible for Fort Chipewyan, having a route through the community from the airport to the medical center, then to the grocery store, right? And then that, or it could be on demand, one or the other. But as long as we could, find the answers and talk to the residents and see what they would like, hopefully we could make it happen.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that, because what I don't want is I don't want us to have a solution for a problem that we don't fully understand. And so my next question actually is for administration. So Director Smith, you and I have had conversations about rural transit, and you talked about phase 2 of Transit Master Plan will be focused on improving our rural. Are we able to expand those conversations during our engagement to include options like subsidized taxis, shuttle service, or do we explicitly have to keep it transit, or can we expand it to see what the community actually wants in terms of improving transportation?
Through the chair to Councillor Vardy, absolutely, and I enjoyed those conversations we've had regarding transit. When we go to the community, we get that feedback, and absolutely, when we come back to council with recommendations, it may not be a fixed transit route, it may not be transit operators that's providing that service. We could have 2 or 3 recommendations, and indeed, in a smaller community such as this, it might be more advantageous and economical feasible to provide some type of subsidy. 100%. And when we look throughout Canada, coast to coast, that's typically what happens in smaller communities.
Thank you. Director Smith, when are you hoping to do phase 2 of this engagement with our rural communities for Transit Master Plan?
Through the chair to Councillor Vardy, we don't have a specific date yet that I can inform you. Our intention currently is to come back to council in March with a 6-month essentially update of how phase 1 went. We're going to provide you how the successes, how we're going to improve, what it looks like in the future, take some feedback, and then phase 2 then would include our rural. So I don't have a specific date, but it will be 100% within 2026.
Thank you. This comment, I guess, is more towards Kendrick. With respect to the timeline that Director Smith just gave us, I wonder, and your willingness to be a little bit open about what it is. It doesn't have to be transit. It could be a shuttle. It could be a cab, depending on what it is that the community wants. Would you be open to, if this motion fails, bringing another motion forward to ask administration to do a community engagement within the next couple of months, not the late of 26, like Director Smith said, but something a little bit sooner, so we can get this ball rolling. Again, I'm not comfortable supporting this motion as it stands, not because I don't believe that transportation is important in our rural. I absolutely believe that. The reason I can't support it is I feel like we're putting a solution first before we understand the problem in itself. I'd like to take a step back, talk to community, figure out what they want first, and then use that information to build the best plan forward.
No, I wouldn't be for that. No, you could. I'm okay with not having support at some point, but I mean, we'll debate about it. But I think that the importance of having this as it stands is because I know the issue that's in the community, and whether it's a shuttle van that goes to the community, the residents are the ones that asked me to do this, and I think having a motion in place and having a direction for the administration to follow, I think that's the important part. And sometimes you know, we need to have the accountability aspect of everything in the council chambers here. So I just feel that we could. We've had discussions. You and I both we both had discussions with administration, and I'm given the direction to administration to find the answers, and hopefully they can come reach out to the community like they do with every other motion that's brought to the table. You give the motion, give direction, find the answer, and if it's not found, then they bring back the feasibility study and all the implications, and then we hopefully we could get it to where we want to be.
Okay, I have one more. Thank you, Councillor Cardinal, and I will absolutely respect that. My question is for administration. So as this motion is, I'm reading it as if this is approved, that you will only be looking at the option for a transit service in Fort Chip. You would not be looking at a shuttle service or a subsidized taxi in Fort Chip, and that you would only be looking at exploring a shuttle service in Fort McKay, and you wouldn't be exploring any other recommendations. It would just be those avenues. Am I correct in saying that? Or would this motion, would you provide a whole level of recommendations across the board?
Through the chair to Councillor Vardy, yeah, we would be restricted to the wording of the motion. So your description there is accurate. I would just remind that we currently have a shuttle system within Fort McKay, and so I would suggest that we're already accomplishing that part of this motion.
It's too political. Okay, I'll wait for debate to go back and forth. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Vardy. Councillor Luana Busse.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. To ICO, but you just said within Mackay. We don't have one within Mackay. We have one back and forth. Is that not, do we have one within? No.
Through the chair to Councillor Luana Busse, no, we don't have one within. Apologies.
Back and forth.
It's back and forth.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is to Director Smith. It's my understanding that in 2025, Fort McKay riders on the shuttle numbered 8 riders total.
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, 8 for the year.
8 riders and $68,000. Is that correct?
Through the chair, you are correct.
Can you help me understand how it works? It's every Friday, the shuttle in Mackay, or back and forth, not within to Mackay, is Fridays?
Through the chair to Councillor Bussier, it's Fridays, so absolutely we leave Fort McMurray, drive to into Fort McKay in the afternoon. I do believe around 3 o'clock. If there's passengers, we come back. If there's a passenger, he comes back with us, and then usually around 6, 7 o'clock, we'll do another trip out to Fort McKay and back to Fort McMurray again.
And that's every week?
That's every week, yes.
This is not to be critical, but is there a reason that there wouldn't be like a required booking? So it's not just like 8 people in a year, that bus goes back and forth empty on a regular basis. Is there a reason it wouldn't be that they have to call by Wednesday to schedule, and that we don't go out there the other 48 weeks that nobody gets on?
Through the chair to Councillor Bussier, absolutely. What you're looking at, what you're kind of asking is more of an on-demand, and in the future, in phase 2, that's what we would go more towards. Gotcha. However, what we did was this route was inherited from when all of transit used to be contracted out, and this is a part of a contract. So we do not provide this service. This is a service that we as a municipality contract out. So the contract is already in place for this amount of service. We do specialize to the rural as well. And that's where we would do more of the bookings, and we do that internally. So we're at a place now where a rural contract, it's row 3 + 1 + 1, and we're in the second year of the +1. And this is an opportunity now to get that engagement, to get that target engagement, get the feedback, and make it more efficient. Absolutely.
Understood. Thank you very much. To Director Fraser, I guess. My one issue with this motion is it needs to be 2 for me. I'm just wondering, Director Fraser, in your experience and relationships with these communities, if this is just explored for Chippewan and not explored for other hamlets, for the in-town, in-hamlet service, is that going to raise issues in your opinion? So my question, I guess, to you is, should we be, while administration is exploring the value of a shuttle service in Fort Chipewyan, should it not be engaging in all of the other hamlets as well?
Through the chair to the question, based on the transit master plan, there will be engagements coming up, so we will be involved in that. But as far as for Chipewyan, there never has been a transit system there. Where the gap has been realized more in the last little while, there used to be a taxi cab there, and probably about a year and a half ago that no longer existed. And so there was a flat fee for within the hamlet, and then another flat fee out to the airport. But that has since ceased to exist. There's another cab in there recently, but it lacks a driver. You need a class 4 for a driver, and the guy's son no longer wanted to live there, so there is no driver for that taxi.
So the other hamlets have those resources, like an elder in Janvier can get around within community, but in Fort Chipewyan cannot?
Several of these communities, they have medical drivers down south, and I'll just recently some of the advisors reached out to Fort Chipewyan in particular, and Mikisew Cree First Nation have a bus that goes to Teresa Tucker School, as well as accessible van for long-term care center, and Noonie Health has 2 15-passenger vans that are wheelchair accessible. Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation does not provide any official transportation for their members, rather they depend on Noonie for transportation. And there's also a Joma taxi, but that's the one that does not have a driver for a class 4. And Fort Chipewyan Métis also have a van that they've had for some time, but once again, lacks a driver with a class 4. And that's just some recent research done by the advisors on the situation in Fort Chip.
So in your opinion, your professional opinion then, Director Fraser, as Councillor Cardinal's motion reads, if we were to approve just exploring in Hamlet transportation option in Fort Chipewyan, we're not creating issues of being exclusive and not being inclusive of the needs of other hamlets?
You're asking for my opinion?
Yes, sir.
Could you reword the question?
I will certainly try. If we just look at Fort Chipewyan right now, are we leaving members of the other hamlets without their needs being met if they're excluded?
In my humble opinion, no, because there is a transportation system going south to Janvier Conklin, as well as stops into Anzac and GLE, and there is a transportation method for Fort McKay presently now.
I mean, within the hamlets. Like, you're talking about taking an elder from the airport to the arena or the home, and that's lacking.
Yeah.
But is it not lacking in the other hamlets? Or like Anzac has a taxi, they have a senior, an elder in
They have
Anzac,
taxis.
an elder in Janvier.
Yeah.
Are their needs met in that regard?
Well, I'll speak for, well, I shouldn't need to speak for the other nations, but I guess I just know that they hire the taxis. The taxis, they got contracts with the taxis,
That's
right?
what
The
I needed.
taxis go and pick them up and.
There is, okay, so their
Right.
needs are met in Hamlet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I
Yes.
didn't mean to
Yes,
put
they
you on
are.
the spot, I just
No, that's
didn't want to be exclusive, so,
That's fine.
okay, then the motion doesn't need to be split in my mind, then I'm good. Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, Director Fraser and Smith.
I guess one of the things I wanted to ask, maybe Keith, again, Director Smith, is how, since there's such low rider experience or ridership in the rural communities, can I maybe ask if IRR and yourselves maybe coordinate with each other to provide some sort of correspondence to the community just to remind them that the service is there and how to maybe advance it a little bit or revamp it, something like that in all rural? Is that a part of the TMP?
Through Chair to Council Cardinal, absolutely. Any type of engagement or consultation or any type of awareness that we can bring to the communities, let's do so. The low ridership of 4 in Mackay, absolutely, but the Janvier and Conklin runs, you know, like I said before, there's 1,900 rides that we do per year. So if you take away the 8 from Fort Mackay, we're still doing close to 1,900 rides in the other communities. So it is used. It is well used.
Okay.
If there is more marketing or more engagement that can be done and we can increase ridership, absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Director Smith. Great answer. But I wanted to ask another thing, which was, since Fort Mackay is contracted out, which is that's not a bad number, but are the other communities contracted as well?
Through the Chair, Council Cardinal, everything outside the urban service area is contracted out with exception to specialized. So our rural trips to Fort Mackay, to Anzac, to GLE, to Janvier and Conklin is absolutely contracted out. Our specialized runs are done in-house. Everything within the urban service area is done in-house.
Okay, and are all rural systems wheelchair accessible?
Through the Chair to Council Cardinal, I believe they are, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Lance Boussier.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through the chair to Director Smith. Keith, did you say 1,900 rides to the rural or 1,900 riders?
Through the Chair to Councillor Boussier, 1,900 rides. So basically, it's hard to determine. You only pay one way, so it's $13.50 one way for an adult, $6.75 for a kid that's 5 to 12. And if you're less than 5, it's free, and if you're older than 65, it's free. So that's rides, one-way rides. It's very hard to determine if it was riders itself. It could be someone being picked up in Fort McMurray and being dropped off in Anzac, vice versa. So it would be rides.
Okay. And there's you said it's a contract as well? Contracted out?
Yes, sir, it is.
And it's not an on-demand system?
Through the Chair to Councillor Boussier, at this time, it is not. It is still part of the Transit Master Plan to be updated, but it follows the old fixed routing system.
Okay, so the Fort Mackay the Conklin to Fort McMurray trip, does it stop in Janvier, Anzac, GLE, and to Fort McMurray, or is it bypasses Janvier?
Through the Chair to Councillor Boussier, the Conklin run does bypass Janvier, and then the stops in Gilly and Anzac.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boussier. A couple questions. It seems like in the conversation, and I know we talked a little bit about the master transit plan and engagements, but we are currently doing engagement in all the rural areas on transit. Transit is coming up in all of that. Is that correct, Director Smith?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, absolutely.
And so during this time, Councillor Vardy was talking about engaging with the community and asking about what they want during that. That would happen at all of these engagements, and we would see a lot of the gaps there, and then that information would come back with recommendations?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, absolutely. So in 2021, 2022, when we did the initial TMP engagement, we did include rural, but it was more focused on the urban. We do have some input and some recommendations from the rural. However, if you can appreciate, that's 4 or 5 years old. So we would definitely do more updated, targeted approach to our rural transit, absolutely.
Do we have engagement dates for the rural right now?
Through the chair to Councillor Weigel, as of right now, no. So I don't have specific dates. It will be in the very near future, but I don't have the dates. In March, the plan is for administration, for myself and our transit folks to come back and give council an update on phase 1. And at that point in time, we will be in a better situation to say, okay, this is what phase 2 looks like. This is what we've learned. This is our continuous improvement. And this is what we're going to do in the rural, absolutely.
And so are you looking to have the engagements before you present on phase 1 or after?
Through the chair to Councillor Weigel, it will be afterwards. However, phase 1 will have our survey responses, which is for the entire municipality.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Luana-Bousset?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Weigel. I just wanted to propose an amendment to Councillor Cardinal's motion that at the end it be it further resolved that administration be directed to explore Jade, you can work your magic, like something around a communication plan to enhance community awareness about the availability of the existing shuttle service versus administration. It's already there, so we don't need to explore anything, but it does need, to your point, to be communicated maybe better. I don't know that they don't know, but let's just let them know, put out something communication-wise. Can you do that, Jade? Like, can you, yeah, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Does that work,
okay
Kendrick?
with that, yeah.
You're open to that?
Yep. So communications to all rural?
Communication to Fort McKay about the existing.
To all rural.
Okay, to Fort McKay and all, okay, to all rural hamlets.
It will stick with the shuttle services to
About
Fort
the
Chipewyan,
existing.
and then communications to all rural.
About the existence of
yeah.
transit services. Okay. Existing transit services. Period.
While we're waiting for CeeLo Brown to do that, Director Smith, before minus the amendment, do you feel this is great awareness, but do you feel this is happening, obviously minus the date of March 31st, do you feel like this is being accomplished within those engagements and the master transit plan? Sorry.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, it will be. When we do these engagements, we'll get that feedback, and a lot of it will talk about timing, more frequency, and when we do come back, we will discuss, okay, this is what it will look like if we do it fixed, this is what it would look like if we do it in-house, this is what it would look like if we do it subsidized, and do those other options that Councillor have already discussed. So we've already kind of, at a higher level, looked at that, and when we do come back after the engagement, we'll bring forward those options.
So do you believe that March 31st, 2026 is achievable for if this motion goes forward?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, that's a tough call. If I was directed by council to do this engagement. I would have to work with Dennis to get this engagement done, and any type of analysis, especially fleshing out any other options, it would be a tight time frame to do so. However, if that's the direction of council, then we'll make it happen.
Would there be something important that would fall off of what you're doing now to accomplish it?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, I would have to reallocate resources. We only have so much capacity in-house, so it would take a little bit from the phase 1 implementation and redirect it this way. We would rely heavily on Director Fraser and kind of reroute our resources to get this information back.
Okay, thank you. Jade, do we have an amendment? So up on the screen is the amendment. Are you good with that, Councillor Luana Boussier?
By March 31st? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No. Or unless you want to give them an extra month.
It's your motion. I just wanted to try to word it.
You want to give them an extra month?
April 30th.
Yeah, I think that if we ask Director Smith, I think
we'll
extra
give them another
time.
month, yeah. Extra month on top.
Would an extra month, Director Smith, give you enough time to be able to come back with these findings? Would that relieve the pressure at all, or would you need more time than that? What's your thoughts? Now I'll let you speak.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, an extra month would absolutely give us more time to do that analysis and work with Director Fraser to do such. However, I think it's important to note that in the motion going forward, I think it's important to note that we should bring back options as well. So not just a narrow scope at transit. Let's look at transit and what fixed would look like and what on-demand would look like and that what it would look like if we delivered it. However, we need to flesh out the other options of high-level, subsidized, what a taxi service, what other areas we could look at. Absolutely.
I guess user rates is, it's beginning to get a bit long, but it's also doable and important that we also have the user rates in there as well, right?
Yeah, so Director Smith, would you, in the middle part where it says recommendations on establishment of community transit services or equivalent or services of equivalency, like is that what we're looking at?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor, something along those lines, yes, so that we can come back and say, here's high level what other options there are, and this is kind of what other communities of similar sizes are doing elsewhere within Canada.
Okay. Councillor Vardy?
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, this is, just like Director Smith had said, we're coming away from the original motion, and I did indicate that I had another motion to bring forward, and now we've actually completely circled back. So I do have something drafted. Would I be able to share it as Jade is making this in real time?
Councillor Cardinal?
Oh,
this is your motion.
Yes, you could share it. I mean, with more options, the better, I think.
Yes?
Yeah, that was my,
yes, that's allowable.
I'm okay with that because we're trying to find better answers and try to make it work, so I'm good with that.
Good, I'm happy. So my draft was that administration be directed to conduct community engagement with residents of Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay to assess transportation needs and provide recommendations for improvement, including but not limited to adding transit, on-demand services, and or subsidized taxi services.
And then if we added on the communication piece to the end of that, the amendment by Councillor Luana Boussier?
What do you think?
Councillor Vardy, can you just repeat one more time?
Sure. That administration be directed to conduct community engagement with residents of Fort Chipewyan and Fort McKay to assess transportation needs and provide recommendations for improvement, including but not limited to adding transit, on-demand service, and/or subsidized taxi services.
What do you think, Luana?
Councillor Boucher?
So here's my issue, is having watched council for years, and the next thing you know, we're doing a budget amendment to hire a consultant to study something, and it's 2028. Can we not just put in a pilot, gather the data after that without having a community engagement? We have experts, we have some data, 8 people in Fort McKay, so we have some data already. And so can we just move ahead with putting something in place like Councillor Cardinal has suggested, see what happens, reassess, gather the data, and let the data drive future decision-making versus taking a year and 8 consultants and studies that are this big? Like, let's just move or vote on it, whatever the case may be. But Director Smith has talked about the engagement is coming in the second phase of Transit Master Plan, correct, Director Smith? So that's already planned for phase 2. So my recommendation or my vote is going to be to move ahead with something and let the data drive future decision making, and consecutively have or concurrently have the plan for engagement. Now, I know Councillor Vardy, you would like that sooner rather than later, so I don't know if that's something that can be worked out with administration to move up the date of the rural engagements. But as it relates to Councillor Cardinal's motion, I would prefer to just get moving, implement it, and let the data drive future decision making.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think the question would be to administration, is that possible? Is there budgetary issues with that? How would we implement a plan?
The plan's already there. I think the plan's there.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Weigel, what we could do in Fort McKay, the run is already there. I think you need engagement from the community. Maybe there's an opportunity to make it more efficient timing-wise, maybe even departure arrival time. In Fort Chipewyan at current, we do not have the infrastructure in place to do any type of actual pilot with a transit. So what we would need to do there is
shuttle.
Sorry?
Shuttle.
Or shuttle, right? We don't have the infrastructure or the operators in Fort Chipewyan to do any type of actual real life pilot until we get more information, as better data driven. If we came back in March 31st or even April 30th, we could come back and say, if we're going to do a pilot in Fort Chipewyan, this is the dollar value that's associated with it. We would need a vehicle and we would need a couple drivers. And how are we going to maintain it? How are we going to fuel it? This is the dollar value. And that's what we can provide. And then it's your decision then to move forward or not. But at present, we can't initiate this.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Like, the motion is go find out by March 31st, now April 30th, and go gather information. Then we're adding, and so now we're in September before we've even got the information brought to us to implement something. Sorry, I didn't mean go put a transit up in Fort Chip next week. I meant just move forward, get the options, come back with just that piece, and allow the other piece of the Transit Master Plan data collection and engagements to drive future decisions.
Yes.
Sorry.
So my understanding is just to keep them as separate pieces, so we're not trying to amalgamate the two together.
Correct.
The master plan and this motion.
Yeah, just go off and come back with the options and the costing by March 30th or April 30th. Just that piece, and give Kendrick and council the information, and then we'll make a decision from there. Concurrently, you're doing the Transit Master Plan strategy and engagements that he already has laid out years ago.
Okay, awesome. Just so I understand. Thank you. Councillor Vardy?
Thank you. There's a lot of terminology being floated around here. Within the motion, it says to recommend an establishment of a transit system in Fort Chip. However, now I'm hearing a shuttle system in Fort Chip. Councillor Cardinal, can you please provide some clarity? Are you looking for a transit system or a shuttle system?
What's the difference?
Set stops.
Like, when I think, Director Smith would be better to answer it. I'm going to give you like my layman's terms. That when I think of a shuttle service, I think of like a singular, smaller bus or like a vehicle that goes bump, 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 versus transit is on a loop and it only stops in these specific areas. Like when I think transit, I think this is going to be a huge cost versus shuttle would be, in my opinion, more reasonable for a smaller community. So I apologize for getting so hung up on language, but that's the reason I'm opposed to the way that it's written, is because one is astronomical when it comes to cost, is the whole transit service, versus a shuttle would be more reasonable. So what is it that you're looking for?
Well, in Fort Chippewa would be the shuttle service.
Okay. So at Fort Chip, the shuttle service, and then Fort McKay, also the shuttle service. So respectfully, that's not what your motion says. Your motion says transit in Fort Chip.
Okay. I think that Jade is drafting the previous amendment that Luana suggested.
Okay, I'll wait for those amendments.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I want to support you, Kendrick. I just want to make sure I'm supporting the right thing.
No problem.
So through the chair procedurally, Councillor Cardinal, if council's in agreement, you can withdraw your motion and put a new motion on the floor to correct a couple of those language items within the motion. So changing transit to shuttle services, adjusting
Sure.
the date, or we can go through a process where we're going to amend your motion. I would recommend in this case, for simplicity, you could withdraw and we can do a new motion. If council's okay with that. Under the procedure bylaw, council must give consent.
Is there any objections to the rescinding of the current motion and then allowing Councillor Cardinal to redo a motion? Seeing no objections, we'll move forward.
Withdrawn, thanks.
Just
Can we
one moment,
take
please.
a 5-minute break? You don't mind, please?
Yep. We'll take a recess for 5 minutes and we'll come back at, I'm going to go 10 because we never stick to that. So let's come back at 6:55, please. Thanks. Awesome. Welcome back. We have a new motion to be put on the floor. Councillor Cardinal, can you read your motion, please?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Weigel. I did want to say I appreciate everyone's patience and working together to find a resolve for this. I guess my new motion would read, whereas the community of Fort Chipewyan currently lacks transportation services with residents to travel within the community, therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to explore and provide recommendations on the establishment of a community shuttle service in Fort Chipewyan. Be it further resolved that administration be directed to communicate to all rural residents about the existing transit services, and that administration present its findings and recommendations to council no later than April 30th, 2026.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Can I get a second for that? Thank you, Councillor Marcel. Comments, questions, or debate points by council? Councillor Cardinal, do you want to speak to the motion one more time?
I think we heard it quite a bit there, so let's move on and hope we can get this passed, please, and thank you.
Awesome. Councillor Vardy?
I just wanted to say thank you to Councillor Cardinal for being so open and listening to the discussion. I think this motion is fantastic through collaboration. Great job, Kendrick. And Cowboy.
Thank you, Councillor Vardy. Any other questions, comments, or debate points?
No, I did want to say that I'm happy that we all work together at this, and it's important as a new council to work on things like this together, and appreciate everybody's support on this, and look forward to the votes.
Awesome. Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. We'll call for a vote. Councillor Vardy, sorry. Awesome, and it's carried unanimously. Thank you.
That was, you had Mike down as absent. Yeah, QPI, yeah. Thank you.
Hey, that was a long one, eh, Alec?
Moving on to item number 8.2, Councillor's motion. I'll ask Councillor Scott to speak to his motion and then read it out.
Nope. There we are. Good evening, everyone. So I've got a slightly revised motion, and I've talked to Jade about that. Jade's going to put the slightly revised motion on the screen. And the reason it's slightly revised is to comply with Section 686 of the MGA. So there's a section of the MGA that talks about timelines. So we got to make sure that we are consistent with timelines, but definitely the intent of the motion is maintained. So I'll read it out as slightly revised. Whereas timely processing and improved efficiency in municipal planning procedures are in the public interest, therefore be it resolved that Council direct administration to implement within 6 months a standardized checklist system for all planning and development applications that clearly outlines itemized requirements applicants must meet, thereby streamlining the submission and review process. Now here's the insertion. Planning and development to initiate an automation initiative based on the principles of process improvement. And then the next paragraph is ensures that where shorter timelines can be reasonably achieved, they shall be implemented. Be it further resolved that this motion shall not apply where a conflicting process or timeline is required by provincial legislation. Furthermore, administration shall identify steps to accelerate application determinations and identify and remove any administrative barriers that impede timely application processing. Municipal bylaws shall be amended where permitted by provincial law to reflect this new approach. And that's the motion.
Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Allen, thank you for a second. Councillor Scott, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yeah, just briefly, everybody. So I think during the campaign, many of you heard challenges with planning and development, or at least perceived challenges. When we talked to the planning and development folks, I think they talked to us about various efforts that are being made. This really reinforces that. We want to have an efficient system at the municipality. There are jurisdictions such as Edmonton, which I've discussed with planning and development, and they've certainly reminded me of tonight, that have implemented processes that embrace a lot of the principles that we are putting forward here tonight. So I don't expect this to be the end of the story, but what I do expect is that this will be the start of a further improvement going forward that ultimately will improve the service delivery to residents in this region and businesses. And with that, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. We do have a couple of delegates for this item. We will begin with Diana D'Souza. Thanks, Diana. Please state your name again for the record, and just to remind you have 5 minutes to make your submission, and following submission, please remain around for any questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good evening and Happy New Year, Deputy Mayor, members of Council and Administration. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Diana D'Souza, CEO of the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce. We are the collective voice of business in this region, currently representing 680 businesses of all sizes across Wood Buffalo. From a business perspective, at the Chamber, our guiding principle is simple: create a pro-business environment that encourages investment, growth, and job creation. That means supporting policies that help businesses move forward and pushing back on unnecessary red tape that slows them down. When processes are unpredictable, projects stall, costs increase, and investment decisions get delayed or redirected elsewhere. Now, why do we support this motion? We support Councillor Scott's motion because it addresses these challenges in a practical, business-minded way. First, predictable and transparent processes drive investment. Second, time matters and delays costs money. Third, accountability and fairness. And finally, it directly aligns with the recommendations of the Wood Buffalo Pro-Business Advisory Committee. Now, I want to acknowledge that planning and development has made progress over the past few years, and that effort is recognized. From my perspective and the feedback that I get from business, we continue to hear ongoing concerns from our membership about inconsistency. So in some instances, they're great experiences, and in some instances, they're not. Not trying to diagnose, that's not my job. My job here is to advocate for it to be improved. So I do agree with what Councillor said. It is the next step to continue to keep our eye on something that's super important. One of the challenges we also face is requiring permitting and having regulations where they should not be. I think that is also a very low-hanging fruit and a real opportunity. I feel like in 5 years, if it comes again and there's another one, there'll continue to be the opportunity to improve. The other piece that continues to plague businesses that's on ongoing issues is sometimes the tendency to regulate beyond the requirements, add safety codes beyond what's required, treat something as a new build when it's not, you know. So really and truly, I think it's an opportunity to bring it back to the front of everybody's mind and to planning and development, and to hopefully continue to see improvements. And with that, I thank you for your consideration, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Diana, and thanks for everything you do. You are a huge advocate in the community. Questions for the presenter, Councillor Lance-Boussier?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm not sure if this is for the presenter or our planning development. I guess I'm just trying to understand what Councillor Scott's motion is going to change. Like, do you have an example, Diana, where there is a, do you have an example where Councillor Scott's motion is going to improve something?
So the reality is that they are streamlined. Well, they have been working consistently on streamlining processes, but they're having a clear checklist. So for example, let's talk about occupancy permits and safety codes. We have a situation where quite often you find situations where more is being asked. So if you have a clarity, for example, this is not a new build. It doesn't need a development permit. It just needs a building permit. I know they've been working on bringing that to clarity. I don't know how far along, but that clarity, those checklists will continue to improve it, bring it front and center. So just as an example.
Okay, I guess through the chair, I guess to Amanda. I guess my question, Amanda, is the system that broke right now? Or is it just a few little tweaks that we need to fix? Like, I'm just confused on what this motion is actually going to achieve.
There you go.
Through the chair to the question, no, I wouldn't say, no, the system's not broken. The challenge that we have as a planning department, and probably most planning departments have this challenge, is that you're taking very structured and regulated rules and trying to shift them into something that's easily understood by the applicants who are interacting with us online. And in the midst of all that, there's rules and ways in which permits are being processed that have been created over many, many years. And the approach to try to break that down and create efficiency, and to the point that Diana made around sometimes we're regulating or creating regulations where maybe you're not necessarily actually needing to do that by the building code or by the land use bylaw, as an example, and trying to adjust the structure on how we approach it. It's constant work. I know the comment was made about in 5 years, you're still going to have more work to do, and that's very true. We have been putting concentrated effort into doing this alongside improving customer service, and we're tackling it from a lot of different angles. That includes even website and online improvements that are happening right now. And the motion that's before you, I think when I look at it in terms of how it will impact planning and development, it just reinstates that we are taking efficiencies, they're critical, and that we are taking them seriously. In the past few years, when we brought the process review in front of council back in 2022, you would be amazed, even in the last 6 months, what has changed in terms of AI and automation and what's available to us. We don't fully understand how we can implement those pieces and make our own processes easier, quicker, and more, I would say, user-friendly. We have been looking at what other cities are doing in the country, and there's only very, very few examples of automation or AI being implemented, but we need to understand what that means, and our team has to put our eye and pay attention to it, because whether we like it or not, it's coming in our direction. And this, in my opinion, this motion just gives us that nudge to take it seriously and to be accountable and to come back to council and report on updates as to where we are in that process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bussier. Any other questions for the presenter? I don't see any. Thanks, Diana. Next up, we have Michael Ferreira. Happy New Year, Michael. Just a reminder to state your name for the record, and a reminder, you've got 5 minutes to make your submission, and just remain seated for questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you as well. So I think Councillor Lance might have stole my thunder there a little bit, because I'm having a little bit of issue here too, but you know, we're still getting settled here after the recent election, and I'm so happy to see that we have so much in-person attendance. Normally, I don't think that I speak for the entire public, but I think I do here that we appreciate that. You know, and in that election, we heard a lot of things about the RM and working in silos and how we need to move towards better collaboration and transparency and accountability. And so I'm going to mention something from the last meeting that's going to tie into this. So, you know, last council meeting, there was a vote where, you know, in my eyes, we kind of ignored the CIP and handed out money. And I can't imagine anyone working in the CIP would feel much like opening up any silos after their work was publicly ignored. So now we get to this motion that I don't know that it does anything, but it kind of seems to me like it's thumbing its nose at the work that planning and development does. And so I would kind of like a little breakdown. Maybe it's a good thing that we have a checklist, I guess. But is another public sector checklist what is going to help the RM? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, I don't know. But do we not think that we already have checklists inside planning and development? Like, how do they get anything done if they're not checking boxes all the time? And I don't know that a governance council should be mandating that, but, you know, who am I? But the second part, I have a real problem with, where we're talking about if an application is not formally responded to within 30 days, it's deemed automatically approved as submitted. What will guarantee that something in front of planning and development is not purposely or otherwise delayed, so you essentially have an approval with zero oversight? And how much money of the RM is council collectively and personally willing to live with spending on something that could be approved with no oversight? And make no mistake, that's what this is. And if something's approved with no oversight, and now there's a problem, what's the consequence? Like, we're talking about doing this, and we haven't talked about the bad side, right? So maybe I'm a glass is half full, maybe I'm a glass is half empty, but I'd rather look at the glass half empty and get that stuff out of the way. And then the last one, where we're ensuring the shorter timelines can be reasonably achieved. I don't even know why we're talking about that. I mean, it's, you know, if I was head of planning and development, I'd be insulted by the insinuation that my department's not trying to do that all the time. So in light of these things, I guess I don't know how this helps the RM. I don't know how it helps council break down working in silos. And I don't know that we can even remotely consider this accountable or transparent, especially the 30-day thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions for the presenter? Councillor Luana Boussier, go ahead. Oh, I lost you there. Go ahead.
Through the chair to the presenter, your glass is half full or empty, but your ears are closed because we've removed that. You probably couldn't see it. The 30 days has been removed, correct? Unless I'm... on the amended thing, it would have been behind you. That's been removed, just so you know, when we vote, that's not part of it anymore. Just, it was taken out and replaced by, can you share that with him, somebody? I don't have it in front of me, but can you just share with the presenter?
Yeah, it's behind. We'll try to put it up on the screen, yeah.
Can you see it, Michael? Oh.
There we go now.
There.
Now it's up on the main screen.
Okay, that's not what was up on the main screen.
Yeah, that was the amendment that was put up, but it would have been behind you, so you probably didn't see it. So I just wanted to point it out to you that the 30 days, yeah. So, because we both also had a problem with the 30 days. So, and the checklist, oh, I'm not supposed to ask you, but is your understanding that the checklist is for planning and development or citizens making application?
I would assume it's for both.
Okay. I assumed it was for citizens, but maybe I'm wrong. Who's the checklist for?
Questions for Councillor Scott?
Anybody. I don't, who's checklist for?
Yeah, for Citizens when they're filling out applications,
Okay,
to
okay,
make it
perfect.
simpler.
Yeah, not for planning and development. Yeah, okay, perfect, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Luana. Any other questions for the presenter? Yes, Councillor Cardinal?
Well, maybe this is for administration, but I'm curious about who would create the checklist?
Can we save that for debate or in questions? This is just for questions for the presenter. Any other questions for the presenter? Not seeing any. Thank you, Michael. All right, and now, is there any other further questions of council followed by debate points? Go ahead, Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just curious as to who would create the checklist, and would the residents have any input on it?
Through the chair to the question, for each permit that is applied for, there is a checklist that exists. These checklists are in place. Some of them, though, might be a little bit confusing or not clear. So from this motion, if it does get approved tonight, we will continue to review those checklists. And we are in the midst of looking at providing an online functional tool whereby when people or businesses are applying for a permit, rather than scouring through the land use bylaw and the existing checklists that are uploaded in PDF or embedded into the e-permitting system, that there is a more user-friendly interactive pop-up that essentially tells the applicant, this is what you're going to need for your application, this is what it's going to cost you, and here are the estimated timelines based on our own approvals that we process. So the checklists are created by administration and will be continue to be reviewed by administration.
How often do you revise them?
Through the chair to the question, they're revised as needed. A lot of it is foundational requirements as part of a permit application. Over the last few years, we've been trying to become more flexible in terms of not over requiring reports, for example. We understand that certain studies do cost money and take time for applicants, and we are requiring what we need only when we need it, not requiring it for all applications.
So, if passed tonight, what's in jeopardy within the land use bylaw?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If this is passed, does it jeopardize any of the land use bylaw?
Through the chair to the question, no. We would ensure that anything that's in the checklist is in alignment with the land use bylaw.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Lance Boussier.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And again, I just, I'm confused by this. Although I'd like to see improvements and efficiencies improved, I guess, Amanda, your word nudge kind of just like, this is something you guys can do on your own. You don't need us nudging you, do we? Do you? Like Mike Ferrer said, it's like kind of in a way, and no disrespect to Councillor Scott, but it's kind of, is it telling you to do a better job or improve it? Like, I just think this is something you're doing on your own, in your own department. Like, that checklist has been there for a long time. Like, when we build houses, there's a checklist that we have to fill out, correct?
Through the chair to the question, that's correct. That checklist exists.
Okay, so what's the standardized, what's going to be resolved, the council direct administration implement within 6 months, a standardized checklist. So what's going to, so I guess what's going to change? What difference is that checklist going to look like in 6 months than the one today?
Through the chair to the question, we have, as part of our process review we did a couple of years back, and as part of our business plan, we have the checklist, like cleaning up processes is always part of what we're doing. I think what the difference would be if this was to get approved tonight, it's just that, like it's a reminder that this is important and that we need to continue doing what we're doing. Personally, I find that the accountability piece is always good to have. I think that the public needs to know what planning and development is up to and where our focus is, and we would be using tonight's motion to just further underscore the importance of increased and continued efficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess for me, when I read the motion, the new motion, we've identified that we do have checklists, but it really, I think what the key to this motion is to identify where timelines can reasonably be improved and speed them up. There's a lot of cases, and we saw one earlier this year, several meetings ago, where long timelines trying to get something through. With planning and development, whether that's based on the department or whether it's based on the applicant, really doesn't matter. But if we have the ability to improve our timelines as a municipality, and it can be reasonably achieved, then I support implementing that. And because, well, going back to the years and years that the business community has been identifying places where it's been frustrating to get a development permit through, whether it was a building permit or not. But as a municipality, I know our department, they've done great strides in improving that, but we can always do better. So really this motion is telling me that let's just look at ways that we can do better.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Yeah, I think the planning and development does an unbelievable job, and they've made great strides since 4 years ago from where we were then, and implementing new ways and to move forward to help the business community. I think this motion is in line with that and just continues to clean up the process and move it forward. And so, especially seeing the support of the business community and planning and development, I will be supporting this motion. Are there any other questions or debate points of council? Seeing none. Councillor Scott, would you like any closing comments?
Everyone to support the motion, even though I realize folks are kind of wondering if it's something important. You've heard from the business community that it's important. I don't know if anybody was out in the campaign talking to the business community. I certainly was, and I heard time after time that things can be improved. This is part of that process. Will it make things perfect? No. Is it part of our role and responsibility to improve this region and improve the processes that are implemented by this region? Absolutely. That is one of our founding goals, I believe, in this region. Much like people could say that snow clearing should be improved. I'm sure lots of people think that today. I certainly do. It's not a criticism of administration. It's saying, you know, we need to do better. And every time a motion is brought, we're saying that, yes, things can be done better. And I truly believe things can be done better. And that's why I would encourage everyone to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. I'll call for a vote. That was passed with 1 opposed. Thank you, everyone, for participating in today's meeting. Marcy Cho, thank you very much. God bless and good night.